Well, thank you for everybody for coming here. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to some surfing stories and this incredible city of Huntington Beach. We're happy to be here. I know that for everybody's emotional to be in Huntington Beach. It's kind of, one of the capitals of the surfing world. Surf City, USA. Kelly's happy about that. But for me, it's even more important that I came here in 1980. I spent 2 months in Huntington Beach. In Argentina, there was a military dictatorship, and this was quite a black and white and yin and yang from that. So I really enjoyed that, and I came back to Argentina. I say, we need some California in Argentina. But a few years later, I moved to America, and in 1986, in the first ever ISA competition that I ran as president, we changed the name to World Surfing Games. It was here in Huntington Beach. We had a trophy for the team before I came, so we put medals for all the finalists and for all the teams in the Olympic fashion. Gold, silver, bronze. We added copper because there were 4 finalists, and we didn't feel like somebody should be left without medals in the finals. And then we have the first time the Sons of the World ceremony, which symbolize peace through sport, through surfing. And it's a very important symbol that you will see later today on the beach at the end of the parade. And it was just one of those special moments, and I decided that was the time to inform the world that we have this vision, this dream that we want surfing to win the Olympics, which of course immediately meant for some people that they needed to call the doctor and see what was wrong with me. But you start with a crazy idea, then you make a plan, and suddenly it becomes a reality. And this is where we are today. It's an Olympic qualifier. It's the second Olympic cycle in the history of surfing, with 2 Olympians. They're always going to be the first ever Olympic surfers. So this is quite a pleasure to have them today. Thank you very much. Sal and Colome. But most importantly, it's the first qualifier for what is the second Olympic cycle, which will end in one of those incredible destinations in the surfing world in July. It is part of France, but it's not in Europe. It is at the other end of the world. It's in the South Pacific, in this wonderful nature of the world, Tehupo. So we're going to be there. So this is the beginning, it's the first step. For some teams like America, Australia, Brazil, this is a very important competition. We are opening today something that we didn't have in the first round, which is we have a 3rd slot for the top teams, or a 1 slot for a team that is not a top team to go into Tokyo, and having 2 is the cap slots per country in Tokyo and also in Tahiti. But because we went from 20 to 24 athletes in both genders, equal genders of course in the Olympics, as in the ISA competitions, we were able to create this new opportunity, which is the nation that has more points accumulated in the rankings of men and female. They could be the same or different nations. They get a slot, and they can fill it up later down, closer to the Olympic Games, with the best specialist, maybe, hollow, nasty waves, Tehupo specialist, or whatever. So this opens the door, something that didn't happen, because other than these 2 slots, and 2 slots in 2024, yes, there is no qualification by country. It's always by name. So if you win your slot next year, or the following year, or in the city tour of 2023, it's yours. So this is very special for me. It's emotional. I woke up this morning very early. I walked on the beach, and there were 3 IOC members, very influential, 3 ladies that have served at some point in the executive board. And one is the head, the chairman or chairperson of the coordination commission, which is the IOC has a commission that oversees the LA Games. So she's here. We walked the whole beach in the morning, met the members of Team USA, all the other teams. It was super nice. So suddenly, instead of becoming Olympic culture, we're making the Olympics surfing culture. So I think that's something nice, and that's what they want us. That's what they agreed that we were so important for them in Tokyo. Surfing, skateboarding, and sport climbing did such a good job in everything that we did. Imagine transparency, good leadership, no corruption, no max fishing, no positive doping. We're like ideal in any way. And that in January, they decided to remove 3 sports from the Olympic program, from the permanent program, which is boxing, weightlifting, and modern pentathlon, traditional sports, and replace them with surfing, skateboarding, and sport climbing. That's the largest single change in the Olympic program in history. And in the words of the president of the IOC, Thomas Bach, was recognition of all the value that these three new sports brought to the Olympic movement and particularly to the Olympic Games. So it's like, okay, dream scenario is our reality. So thank you for coming, and back to you. Sorry that I went off, but this is my life. This is what I've done. No, this is what I learned all my adult life. This is what I've done. I work on this for many years, and it's my passion. I don't draw a salary. I never drew a dollar salary from the USA. It's an honorary job, like for Jean-Luc from France. He's a member of the executive here with us. We work because we like to do this, and hopefully somebody will recognize that and enjoy it, because the best reward when you do something nice is that people enjoy what you do.
Well, thank you so much. Very well said. And we're so excited for this year's Olympic cycle to begin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kelly, would you like to say a few words on behalf of Visit Huntington Beach?
Yes, and first off, welcome. We're glad you're here. This is our first big press conference here, and we thought about this day 4 or 5 years ago when we designed this office, because you walk in the door, you'll see 5 rings of light. That's all I'm saying. And, but seriously, though, we are so glad you're here. I've always loved Fernando. He's like a jazz player. Great jazz players fill in the blanks. And I learn something every time he speaks. And I just want to give you just some brief historical context on why this is such an important day for Huntington Beach. And I won't go into all the things. I'll talk about that more at the opening ceremonies. But over 100 years ago, Henry Huntington brought down George Freeth, 1914. George Freeth was from Hawaii. There he is up there.
Up there on the right.
And he knew Duke Kahanamoku. In fact, Duke was a young surfer there. And he came over, and he was up in Hermosa Beach and some of those areas. They had big pools up there. People would go to the beach. And George Freeth was surfing up there. So Henry Huntington had a rail car system, these trolleys. He brought him down, and we opened up our pier, brand new pier. 5,000 people showed up on the 19th of June to watch a person walk on water. The next day, 10,000 people showed up. And that's the power of surfing. That was probably more than the entire population of Huntington Beach. We have 2 great watermen, Bud Higgins, who went down with his dear friend Gene Belshie, and they watched Duke surf. And they went down, they talked to Duke, and they came back and they built their own surfboard, 10 feet and 135 pounds. My board leaks, it's 135 pounds when I take it out of the water. And they became like the first watermen here. And Bud Higgins was the first guy to shoot the pier. And they started the junior lifeguard program. And Bud, went on to be an official at the city of Huntington Beach. West Coast Championships, 1959. Jack Haley was the first man to win that. And Sally, you might even know, Linda Benson was the first woman to win that.
Oh, yeah.
She was the first woman to surf Waimea, and she was 15, 16 years old. She weighed 130 pounds. Incredible story. Surf shops started to open, and you'll see we are in the Dean Torrance Board of Director room right here. The first song that had the word surf in it to go to #1 was Surf City USA, and that was Jan and Dean. Endless Summer Hits, right? Robert August, high school grad, Huntington High School. ASP, the OP Pro, 40 years this year.
Yep.
And PT, I see you back in the room. He's the director of our International Surf Museum. We have a new exhibit going in about a month. The Walk of Fame opens in '84. Yeah, there you go. So we have the Walk of Fame, which is paying tribute to great folks, 150 people. Then across the way, we have the Surfing Hall of Fame, and Duke Kahanamoku statue is there. The NSA begins, right? National Scholastic, the high schoolers. And this is cool, I didn't know this, but Bud Lamas was the first NSA champion. Mm-hmm. He went on to do the world tour. Zeke Lau won 10 years ago, the NSSA, and he won the US Open this year. Kanoa, 2-time US champion, silver medalist. He, of course, surfed in that competition as well. And Brett Simpson was the captain of the surf team. Were you also on that? There you go.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, he coached you right there and won the silver or gold with Carissa. World's largest surfboard we built, 2016, Guinness World Book of Records. And we're taking it off the wall in next September, knock on wood, right, Barbara?
Yes.
And that should be a lot of fun. Then we did the largest kind of circle gathering, over 500 people grabbing arms at the end of our pier right after that. To put an exclamation mark on everything I just said, we don't believe that there is a city in California that is more significant when it comes to culture and historical significance, both rich and deep, a world-class resume in the arena of competitive surfing and all things surf culture, any place in California. And that's why we are considered Surf City USA. And I can just say this too, that We are proudly welcoming this event. 7 times we've been here, more than any other city in the ISA's history of hosting an event here. And I can tell you that we are just totally stoked, without question. And PT always talks about, and I'll just end with this. He always says that the road to the World Surfing Championship runs through HB. And I would just add to that, that now starting today, that the road to Paris 2024, and hopefully many years after that, truly runs through Surf City, USA. Thank you so much.
Nice. And for your next presentation, is the city with hosted most World Surfing Games in history.
There you go.
There you go.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
I'll go to you next, Kalohe. How special is it for Team USA to have the World Surfing Games here at home, on home soil in the United States in Huntington Beach, a place where you've got so much experience this year?
Yeah, it's amazing. I've always loved doing these since I was like 13 years old, I think. The first one I did was in Marseilles, Brazil.
Yeah, Marseilles.
Yeah, when I was a Grom. It's just fun rooting on your fellow teammates and having that camaraderie. Usually surfing's such an individual sport, you're kind of like on your own program, but here you get all the merch and you get the flag, and yeah, you root on your fellow teammates. So it's amazing to have it close to home, and I was really excited to drive up the road and do it.
Very cool. And Sally, coming over from Australia, you're an Olympian, you're a 3-time ISA gold medalist. How does it feel to be back in the mix?
Yeah, it's really special, just the same as Kalohe. I started in Brazil all those years ago, but I stepped foot on HB Beach 19 years ago. And as a young kid from Australia, I was like, what is this place? Like, it was crazy. It was kind of like the height of my career, like that boom, and the crowds were large, and everything about the place was more than I imagined. And so yeah, coming back all these years, it's really significant, like Kalohe said, to compete as a team. And we're seeing the likes of one of the greats like Roger Federer wrap up his career, and you look at that and you're like, how do you wrap up like such a significant body of work? And for him, it's like he's going back to the Labour Cup, which is a team event, and there's something about that, I think, that's pretty significant, and that you're competing for something greater than yourself, and you really do connect to probably why you started surfing, those feelings and that energy. And I think it'll be a great week, and we wouldn't want to be anywhere else for sure than HB. And yeah, wish all the teams all the best of luck.
Exciting. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Fernando, great to see you. I remember there in Rio when surfing became part of the games, and
Yes.
your emotion. And I'll get to you with questions later, but I want to ask Kalohe and Sally. I mean, obviously you guys are lucky to be part of this amazing journey surfing there in Tokyo, and you know, most people, even beyond Fernando, deemed it a success, despite you know, obviously not reaching its potential. Any sport reaching its potential due to the pandemic. So now we start our next journey toward Paris 24, and I guess nothing's guaranteed whether you guys will be there, but you know, best of luck. So I guess the question is, you know, where do you think surfing can go from here leading up to Paris 24? I mean, obviously there's always room for improvement. Obviously a very different venue that's going to help this out. But I guess what do you feel you can do in the surfing community, and even Fernando can do better to make this a continuing success and you know, write this next chapter in surfing's Olympic history?
Go, Sally.
I like the statement. Go, Sally.
I was going to say locals first, but yeah, I think in terms of surfing, there's a lot of momentum and a lot of change, especially in my time, in my career. I think the road to Paris, for me, like being a part of that first cycle now, I think it just consolidates that surfing's here to stay as an Olympic sport. The kids on our team keep reminding me that I've had a few more waves in the legs, that I may be getting a little older, and I think these things definitely keep us, in terms of the vets, like engaged and want to push our level. And I don't know, it just creates this hunger and this fire. I feel like I'm still that 13-year-old kid that walked down at HB. So yeah, just give me the opportunity, and I'd love to show up for it. And I just want to see, just like the sport, how far we can go. No one knows. It's like a really cool Netflix series. I don't know what the next episode is, so yeah, stay tuned.
You want me to answer?
Please.
I think this is me just being honest. I think that more than surfing needs the Olympics, I think the Olympics need surfing. I think the Olympics is pretty stale and boring, and I think that surfing is the best sport in the world, and it's really cool. So if you have surfing in the Olympics, I think more people will watch it.
They know that.
Just quick follow-up. Where can surfing improve? What can be done better? What can be better?
I think the
Second time
venue, you know, Chopu is going to be great. Hopefully we get some good waves. You're dealing with Mother Nature, so you never know what's going to happen, obviously. But yeah, hopefully we get some big barrels, and yeah, everyone will tune in.
I think, you know, I'm not sure if I believe in karma, but sometimes I think I do. The 2020 Olympic Games original window in 2020, never produced more than 30 centimeters, which is 1 foot of waves for the whole. I spent the whole week looking at the wave forecast and looking at the waves. I'm glad that this is COVID. I didn't even know if there were going to be games. Nobody knew. But when the games came, 3 days before the competition, I arrived in Tokyo. And I turned my phone on, and I see this report from Surfline, out of your own Huntington Beach wave forecasters, and which are the official, you know, wave forecasters for the ISA, but also for Tokyo. And I see this hurricane. They call them typhoons. No? Typhoons. They're basically hurricane with a different name. It goes from yellow, orange, red, and purple. And I said, this cannot be possible. It was the earliest typhoon in the history of Japan. Earliest by 2 or 3 weeks. We arrived there, and it was perfect. It went from small to medium to large. And I look at all of that, and one day, and there was a meeting of all the international federations, head by the president of the IOC, because there is an incoming typhoon. We're happy, but everybody else is concerned. And the president looks at me in the hallway and says, I guess you're the only one happy here. I said, yes, I'm very happy. So, you know, I think, you know, Tahupo is probably going to deliver some unusual and amazing waves. And we're going to continue on this path to bring new light and new energy, like I was saying, to the Olympic Games. They know they need us. And it's nice to be a welcome guest. Huh?
Thanks so much. Go ahead.
Hey, Kelly, you talked a lot about the past here in Huntington Beach, and Fernando mentioned there was a couple IOC members rolled in the sand this morning. Do you think this event is going to showcase Huntington's ability to hold an Olympic style or Olympic event looking forward to 2028?
Without question. This is one reason why when we were approached if we were interested to host the World Surfing Games again, we said absolutely. And I say this for a couple reasons. The consistency of our waves here in Huntington Beach throughout the year is a big plus. The historical significance of that pier, and knowing that there weren't spectators in 2020, that you're in a little bit remote place in 2024, I think 2028 allows, if we're given that opportunity for the family, competitors, the whole world to come and experience the games like they've never seen. It was just said, you're exactly right. Surfing brings a whole new energy to the games. And I think if we want to amplify that and grow that, I think Huntington Beach should be certainly one of those sites that is strongly considered by LA 2028.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to what you're saying, I was walking today with 3 members, one of which is the head of the coordination commission. She was, you know, praising the city, praising the landscape, the size of the beach. I think you got some really strong and valid points. But, you know, I don't need to say that. You know, Kelly's the best salesman Huntington Beach has, so.
Layla, can I say one more thing? We've all been to big events before, and it's about ingress, egress, ease of getting in and out. And I think by 2020, that transportation network will be really dialed in. And we believe that you'll be able to walk out, say, from LA, and be able to come down to places like this and other surrounding areas really easily and get back to the footprint. We know that 20-some% of the hotels for LA 28 are in Orange County. So why not have that sort of
You'll have people anyhow, yeah.
Just a thought.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Ash.
There's been quite a bit of talk about what surfing has done for the Olympics. I'd be intrigued to know what you think the Olympics has actually done for surfing.
You're asking me?
I mean, also Sally and Kolohe, because I imagine your social media accounts may have gone up a little bit higher as well, but maybe you first.
No, I think that, you know, going into the games, we were, I wouldn't say cocky, but we knew who we are, what we bring. You know, the appeal of a sport that is not a sport, it's a lifestyle, a culture, has environmental, humanitarian angles. I mean, a lot of the values that modern society believes in are in surfing, are in the ISA. And once a former president of the IOC told me that they need to see a sport that brings value, they need to see a leadership that they can believe in, and they need to see an organization that is the way it's supposed to be. I think we bring those three elements. But I think that as the world progresses and changes and evolves, we'll bring more of that. I mean, there is historically, there are sports that were originated in training for war, and we surfers don't train for any war. So we belong to kind of a new paradigm of how the world works. And this is not in bad mouthing any sport, but just our roots are enjoying nature, basically, and in a way that is sustainable and non-aggressive to nature. And you don't need to build anything basically because our field of play is there. So I think we have a few points. I think that's why we think we're in a good place, and we hope that when we were appointed or were selected for one event for Tokyo for 1 year only, 2 days later we have some reception, and Thomas Bach, the president, was there, and I told him, Thomas, don't think that we're here for Tokyo. We're here to stay. And he says, I wouldn't expect anything else from you. So we're here to stay.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to follow that up because, the question was more about the other way around. I think the relationship goes both ways with respect. So I'm just curious to know, I mean, maybe Sally, for you, what do you think that the Olympics has actually done for surfing?
I think its main top line would be accessibility. Like it provides what Fernando's provided with the federations now. It's like it's not a popularity contest to get to the top of the tree and compete on any tour and these people become stars. It's more about they have a pathway now. They can work in their country. They're supported to come to the World Games. They can see a pathway through, and sometimes that's all you need. Especially, I came from a really small town, like country town, and when I saw the likes of Pam Burridge and Lane Beachley winning world titles from a small country like Australia, I was like, whoa, that's totally possible. And so I'm hoping that all these countries, as they get exposed to it or see the Olympic Games, they're just like, oh, I can do that too. So I would say accessibility, but brother might have another.
I don't even know. I'm just listening to her.
So 2 for accessibility, yeah.
No, I think you look at the smallest sport in the Tokyo Games, surfing, 40 athletes, that's it. 20 men, 20 women. And we got 5 continents, 18 countries represented. You're talking about true universality. And also the top professional surfers in the world also there. So that's, a professional league that has anti-doping according to WADA. I mean, a lot of things that we bring are an example for other federations, other professional leagues. So this is, a lot of, and I think the IOC has, the games has elevated surfing everywhere. I mean, you got countries and governments that will not even think about what surfing is, funding surfers, but funding them year round. I mean, I'm not just talking about like Germany funding German surfers. I'm talking, Middle Eastern, African and Asian. I think it's wonderful. I think it's better than what we thought. It's like when you date and you go to the first day, I say, this is nicer actually what I thought. This has legs. Bob doesn't like me to make example like that. Bob gets red hair and go down and say, here goes again, Fernando. I'm trying to keep it on the metaphorical side, Parabolic.
I will add to that just as far as some stats for you that I think because surfing is now in the Olympics, I think the Olympics has added into surfing so much. So for this year's ISA World Surfing Games, we have 51 teams represented. We've got 137 men, 56% of the field will be men this week, 109 women at 44%, for a total of 246 athletes. But we also have some new teams. So this year, for the very first time, and I think it's because the Olympics is in the conversation now. Before this, a lot of these nations wouldn't have funding, they wouldn't have accessibility to be able to be present here. This year we have Algeria, Lithuania, and Saudi Arabia represented for the first time, which is just amazing. So that'll be great to see. Is there any other questions?
I got one.
Peter?
This one's for Chloe, and my question to them, are you guys going to try and qualify again?
For the Olympics? 100%. It's like asking if the sun's going to come up tomorrow.
it's not too sterling.
So it's game on, it's game on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's game on. Yes.
Sally,
Me?
you going hard?
Oh yeah, for sure. As I said, like we're presented these opportunities now, and that's what the Olympics provides. Like more destinations for all our thought process and our energy and channeling towards something. It's pretty cool to see because like Kolohe, like I don't know where his best will be in his career or when, but sometimes it's like that driving force behind him. Maybe being in the US team, it'll be everyone rallying around and him achieving a gold medal that he didn't know was on the cards like last year or the year before. So it adds that like surprise element and like just a huge carrot, yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Well, we've got time for a couple more questions. Anyone else in the front?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to follow PT, but I was just going to ask, so there's obviously a huge incentive to go to Olympics for the endorsements, and a lot of like more developing countries are kind of joining, and we know that some of them are trying to like maybe poach surfers or have surfers kind of join their team. I want to know if any of you guys maybe might have been approached, or maybe teammates to try to join some of these more developing nations, or what you think about that. I know Aaron Burks is sort of surfing for Canada, Aton was thinking about maybe surfing for Israel. I don't know if that's something you guys have gotten offers from.
Well, as you can tell by my accent, I'm just so Aussie, so if I could pull that off and post the interview in another language, but I appreciate my ancestors and stuff, but yeah, I'm an Aussie, so yeah, ride that one to the end.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah.
I bleed red, white, and blue. I'd be too embarrassed to surf for any other country.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you have seen as a consequence of Olympic surfing and all of this is opportunities that didn't exist for surfers or former pro surfers or whatever to be coaches of other countries, just like in all the sports. Like the national team of Mexico has an Argentina, the Chinese team has a South Africa, and they're moving around. They're creating a new job opportunities for a lot of surfers that didn't exist before. And this is in a scale that it will bring a lot of progress and development around the world. No? In the back there?
At the back?
Yeah, real quick. Sally, acronym. Java Jaws. I've done the hot beverage service and coffee for USA Prime. Every event West Coast, 2 years, and I can't believe how crazy good the girls are surfing. And I'd like first Sally to comment on the future of women in surfing. I mean it. I mean, they are crazy good, just as good as the boys at that. Absolutely. They're really developing.
I really appreciate it. Thank you on behalf of all the women surfing in the room. And I think that's a classic case of, the talent finally meeting these opportunities. Like I've known firsthand because I free surf with these women day in, day out. And I've seen that on boat trips for years and years, and even Chloe has been part of the teams where we've taken these trips away to amazing waves, and you just see how that level can escalate. So we've seen the events kind of come and meet, and good calls to put the women out in these waves. And we're still progressing in areas maybe at a different rate to the men, but we are a different side of the sport, and we have our own strengths. And but I think the momentum behind that, like every day, that's what gets me out of bed. And I may not have been down the road at Trestles the other day for the finals, but I set my alarm. It's like 1 a.m. in Australia, and I'm just there as a surf fan as well. So we're all really supportive of each other, and there's only a few spots at the top there. So everyone's working so hard, and I respect any of the women that are driving for those big lofty goals and gold medals. And let's see it.
Yeah, I think it's just we live in a wonderful time. 100-something years ago, sports were an activity of the elites of the world, the rich people, aristocracy, royalty. Then in the 20th century, with the development of sport around the world and the independence of many countries in Africa and Asia particularly, but also in the Caribbean, you see sports becoming more a human right. But until the mid-20th century, it was a human right for guys, not for ladies. So it was not really a human right, it was a guy's right. And slowly it evolved, it changed. And it doesn't change, change doesn't come by natural flow. You need to force change. That's the way mankind moves. First it's unthinkable, then it's impossible. And then our job, the ones that want to change, is to make it inevitable. And that's just a cycle in anything you see, from slavery, for anything you can think about. But civil rights, voting rights. And at the ISA, I am happy to announce that in Tokyo, we shook the coconut tree, because traditionally in all sports males are the last final. It's just the way it is, no? Like dessert comes after the main course. But to me it was unnatural, and I didn't like it. So the day before the competition was about to start, I reconvened the whole technical committee. My technical committee, I said, guys, I look at the progression of the hit, I say, it's wrong. And they look at me like, here comes Fernando with another curveball. And I say, yeah, it's wrong. What do you mean it's wrong? It's been approved by the IOC, by everybody. It's wrong because the ladies are not the final, the last final. So yeah, that's the way it's always been. Exactly. We're gonna change it. So we told the IOC, we told the organizers, and we changed it. So we shook the coconut trees and coconuts fell, and we're super stoked because we are pushing for that. And that's what I want to have, and we will have here. It doesn't have to be guys, it's the last hit. This is, it could be anyone. It could be something that comes back and forth. And because I didn't have experience in the Olympic Games, I forgot to change the medal ceremony. So the last final was the ladies, Carissa and Bianca, but the medals were the guys. So I guess we could call it yin and yang. But it's nice to be able to change. I mean, I love to be an agent of change, especially when it's something that everybody gets excited. So I think it's a lot of room for opportunities in this long-term relationship now that we have with the Olympic Committee. So it's win-win, yeah.
No, and as well, the second, Fernando, is like paying credit to surfers like Kolohe. Like for me, over my time on tour, it's their shared knowledge and his willingness to help learn about maneuvers or waves. And he was the first one down there when in their team when Carissa won the gold, and he's just as happy as if it was his gold as well. So it's like the shared knowledge from this generation of male surfers that's helping us improve. And
nice. When
it gets pretty scary and hairy, some of the waves Chopu, we're pretty green out there. For our generation, we haven't had that time in the lineup and to paddle in, and these guys are supporting us, and even if we get into trouble, they're the ones to look in on the reef and come pick up our pieces. So it's paying credit to their generation as well. They've had a huge part to play.
Nice.
Yeah.
So just to pick up on that, Sal, you mentioned hairy and scary. Chopu is obviously a wave that doesn't take any prisoners, but we've seen women have surfed there for the first time since 2006 recently. Just your take on, I guess, what it means for women to be able to surfing in Paris at such an iconic spot.
Oh, it's huge. It's that lineup, I only really sat in it, I went once when I was a Grom, but in my adult version, sitting out there, and it is hard to, almost like when parents go to teach their kids skating or to drop in at the mega ramp, and there's always parents in the hospital wing I was trying to teach my kid how to at an older age, the risk reward, and a little too much, so sometimes you do need that kind of encouragement and support in that learning process, because we're trying to skip a few steps because we've had this, for me, 15 years on the tour and haven't had access to surfing that in an event. There's some amazing female specialists that are showing us how it's done, and they've got copious amount of clips, but from that competitive arena to kind of get the group of us to elevate that, and we're happy to be the guinea pigs. It's the kids out there now. When I was at the training camp, that there's 8-year-olds, young 8-year-old girls surfing out there now, and they're the ones that are going to be
wow.
When they're qualifying for tour, they're going to be the specialists. But it's just that patience from everyone to kind of encourage that level, and we'll do our best, and when we look down, we'll try and keep paddling in. And but I think, just by having that stage there now and that Olympic gold medal on the line, it'll be really interesting to see what comes out, because you want that so bad. So it's probably going to skip a few steps, and there's going to be some wow moments.
Just lastly, Fernando, just given that this is such a unique venue, particularly for women who haven't surfed there, how is the Federation, I guess, going to support the athletes who maybe haven't spent as much time there? Is there going to be an opportunity for them to sort of go there and test the waters and, just be able to kind of be given a chance to try something that potentially...
Yeah, most of the job rests on the national federations, which are the ones that need to fund the training, the camps, like she was talking, to go there and go with the specialists, go with the people that are comfortable, getting your head down and paddling when the first thing you want to do is just get out of there, no? So I think it's, yes, I mean, it's you look down, it's really? And, but I think it's going to be quite surprisingly how much it's going to evolve, because now there is a timeline. 22 months from now we're going to be there, and some people that want to be there are going to visit that place more often, and then serve those type of waves which exist in other places. I mean, of course, Tehupo is Tehupo, but there's a lot of waves that have that gnarly, short, explosive drops and tilt rides. I think it's yes, Leighton.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, for me it's insane, because we're going from Tokyo, where we could have no waves, we have some waves.
Yeah.
Now we're going to the opposite end of the world, in this place that will produce waves. My hope is that it doesn't produce 20-foot waves. We don't want that. No, I mean people see Tehupo and think those nasty Tehupo days that you fall on the air almost. But it's also a wave, depending on the direction of the swell, which is a nice, super fun wave with maneuvers and turns, and I wouldn't call them friendly, but it's more makeable. Let's call it. So I think it's the monster comes in different costumes. We need to figure out what day she's going to show up with.
Talking about a more friendly wave, back to this event here, what's the forecast looking like? Who are some of the recognizable names that are going to be showing up? I'm assuming you guys are surfing
Oh yeah.
in the event.
Yes.
Anybody else from the World Tour we can expect to see? Any other activities happening? I know you've talked about wanting the Olympics to one day be kind of like a festival not like the U.S. Open, but
yes.
With some things. Are we going to see any of that footprint here?
Yes, it was inspired. No, you're not going to see a U.S. Open festival, but yes, the festival that we had in Tokyo, which unfortunately was shut down a week before going. It was a festival prepared for 8 days of concerts, DJs, environmentalism. It was just incredible, but it had to be shut down because Tokyo was shut down for foreigners. So instead of keeping,
any of that here?
no, we don't see that here, but this is some version of that will happen in Tahiti too. Remember that Tahiti, of course, Hawaii is Hawaii, but Hawaiians come from the South Pacific, and the Tahitian culture is a seagoing country, a nation. So I think we're going to see a nice festival which had the Tahitian roots, but also the values of surfing and Olympism and environmentalism and all of that. What was that part of it?
The forecast, how's it look?
Oh yeah, the forecast. The forecast is we have the first end, we have the front end, we have nice waves, combination of swells, predominantly southwest but some northwest, and then fun waves, contestable waves the rest of the week. But we'll see. Sometimes the forecast says it's gonna be okay, and then it's really good. So we hope for that. And so this is Huntington Beach. We'll get waves.
Is there any other World Tour surfers that might be joining the lineup?
Yes, there.
Kanoa's here.
Kanoa's here.
Yeah, so Noah Igarashi was the silver medalist in Tokyo.
Yes, he's here.
And Muro Suzuki was the bronze medalist on the women's side. So they're both here for Team Japan. And we've got, I
The
believe,
three
9.
Brazilians, the Pupo brothers. Johnson Andre from Brazil.
It was going to be Italo, but Italo got injured a few days ago. So he was replaced by Jason Andre. Yeah, Jason Andre, yes. Yes.
Federico Moraes, Teresa, have you said Teresa's last name?
Bongola.
But she's not on the CT.
She's a Challenger Series surfer
Yeah.
still. Sally, on your team, we've got India Robinson
Jackson
and
Baker.
Yeah.
McCullough.
And Sophie McCulloch?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
got a few from the women's side as well. A couple of the rookies from the tour this year on the women's side of the championship tour.
Gabrielle
Gabby
Ryan.
Ryan. Yeah, Gabrielle Ryan that'll be competing.
Kalohe, who's on the USA team?
Griffin, he's on the tour.
Yeah.
You know that.
And Nat Young.
From the men's side.
Right. Great team.
I was spacing out.
What is it?
The women on the USA team?
It's Gabrielle O'Brien, Zoe McDougal, and
Kira Pinkerton.
Yeah.
Oh, young.
Yes.
All the girls bailed out. I might have to have a word with them.
Yeah.
The future is here.
Mayor here. This is the third female mayor we've had in a row. And she went with us. She's here today to Ichinomiya. Back in the day when we went over there and met with Kimafumi and everybody. Barbara Del Glaze, our mayor. Glad to see you.
Yeah, Mayor.
And Fernando, you reminded me that when we were working with Bob, we were going to have the big festival over there. BHB was going to be there in Tokyo.
Yes.
And what we envision is that summer of Stoke, whatever happens in 2028, but be
Yes.
able to come down. We got the U.S. Open going to happen, whatever happens here. But that whole summer is just come here and experience surf culture like it's never seen
yeah.
before. So
Yes, I think it's we never thought, I never thought that Olympic surfing was going to be just a surfing competition. That would have been shortchanging our sport, our culture. That's why we wanted to have the festival, and the Olympic committee embraced the festival format. It's not a format that existed in many sports. Very few times have it done before, and they completely love it. There was a big, to create a lineup of artists. Everything was just amazing. It was an incredible museum honoring Duke and the roots of the sports and today's surfing. It was, for me, it was really, really sad a week before the event when they decreed that emergency in Tokyo, which meant that all visitors were going to be locked, basically in hotels, venue, back to the hotels. We surfers were lucky, as we always are, because our venue was the beach. So we spent the week on the beach. So it was nice, instead of having to be, on a stadium and back to the hotel. But it was basically like an embassy of surfing in the Olympic movement. That's the way I felt. It was like sharing everything that we like and makes, you surf one time and then you just that's what you want to do. So this is, it continues to be the vision for the future.
Well, just aware of the time, maybe one last question or comment?
I got a great closer. Is HB 2028 going to host this Olympic surfing?
Yes.
Well, we've been talking about this. You're putting me on the spot, but I think it was quite clear for everybody that there's very few front runners on this on the venue. So I think this is something that doesn't need to be decided today. It will be a couple of years until the final decision. I think it's 3 years before the Bob. Traditionally, we have to ask Ellie. Yes, Barbara.
If you don't mind, I'd like you to see.
I don't mind anything you ask me or tell me.
I'm sitting here and I can't tell you how excited I am. I'm a resident of the community. Yes, I am the mayor, but I'd like to say something. I think this is really important. Sally, you hit the nail on the head. Why do we need surfing, or why does the Olympics need surfing, or surfing comes to the Olympics? Yes, it's true. The Olympics makes it very accessible to the whole world. So the whole world, not just people here in Huntington Beach.
Of course.
People in
all over, yes.
Everywhere. And then I think what happens, Sally, you said, you could feel it in your body. You're 13 years old again, and you're going to do that. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And that happened to me watching the young lady that ran the marathon in 1984 for the LA Olympics. You guys know her.
Joan Benoit.
Yes, thank you. And I thought, oh my God, to run a marathon. And she was a young woman. We had short hair, she had short hair, that whole thing. Anyway, I had the experience of, I could do that. And I did 10 years later. So all I'm saying is, it's more than surfing.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to submit to you, because you go around the world, we can, I think, heal the world, bring more security to the world through surfing.
Of course.
Because you're going to go other places than maybe we would normally go for. And I think what you will also do is bring back, for those of you of the age, remember Wild World of Sports? Come on. You remember seeing those.
Yeah.
Who's seen that in here? I know you have. Because there are not many people that have seen that. We need to see that again.
Yes.
And bring people out, and maybe it's not surfing that it's their sport or whatever, but it gives them the confidence to do it. And I know that we can do that here in Huntington Beach. So.
Totally. Well said. Yeah, I think that the value of sports for a better world is just so obvious, so in your face. I mean, governments like to go to wars and fights, but people don't like to go to war and fight because we die. They don't. So it's really. I think we understand what is a better world. We all do, especially young people, and the way you put it is so clever. For me, it's 3 years ago we changed. Here in 1996, we inaugurated our phrase, which was a better surfing future. So it was a better future for the sport. It was kind of selfish. We were talking about ourselves. But 3 years ago in Miyazaki, the first Olympic qualifier, we changed that for a new phrase that I created, which is a better world through surfing. So it's not for us, it's for the rest. So it's a completely different way of looking at it, no? And I think we're doing that. It's amazing when you see surfers from Israel and Morocco and Saudi Arabia and Ireland and the UK all together hanging out. There's much more that united us that separated us. So it's beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. We've got the opening ceremonies 3 o'clock on the north side of here at the plaza, so we'll see you there.
One more thing that I want to say. If you like movies, on Tuesday here at the plaza there is the first public preview of The Impossible Way, which is a chronicle of the lunacy becomes reality Olympic surfing. Goes from dream to reality. So
It's here at the View Plaza at 6 p.m., right? Yeah.
yes, 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. at the plaza.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.